Okay, welcome to MSUA Game Changers webcast, where we speak with satellite and mobile connectivity thought leaders about industry trends and share what you need to know about the future of mobile satellite communications. I'm your host, Roger Lanto, president of the Mobile Satellite Users Association, and I'm excited to introduce Silvano Payne, founder, CEO, and owner of Satnews, publisher of Sat Magazine and MilSat Magazine, and producer of Silicon Valley Space Week and the SmallSat Symposium, which is coming up in 2 weeks, February 4th through 6th in Mountain View, California. Over the past 35 years, Silvano has written and spoken extensively about the industry. Silvano lives in Sonoma, California, and when not overseeing Satnews, can be found in the field or the cellar crafting fine wines. And if you could comment, because anybody who's seen the disaster unfolding in Los Angeles knows this disaster unfolded about 7 or 8 years ago in your neighborhood. What can you say about coming through that and having it come so close to yourself?
We were very, very lucky. I feel so sorry for those people down in LA. It's one of those things that you just don't control, and all of your worldly goods are right there, and suddenly they're gone. It's very sad. I do.
The fires in Sonoma came fairly close to you.
About half a mile, yeah. About half a mile from me, yeah. So we were very lucky. We were not here, but there were tractor marks going up our road because the fire crew were up there fighting for us. So they did a great job.
So I'm very interested in the show coming up because I attended my first Silicon Valley Space Week and I was very impressed and nearly overwhelmed with the content and the level of participants in the event. Some of the highlights of the SmallSat Symposium that's coming up, from my perspective, are the keynote by Sir Peter Joseph Beck, CEO and founder of Rocket Lab, and the fireside chat with Matt Desch, CEO of Iridium. Is there anything else you want to call attention to in case potential attendees are still on the fence?
Well, we tried to make the last day more of a military bend, and you'll see that most of the sessions are kind of military. And so you'll see Bucky is there. He's a general and will give a keynote speech. He's absolutely excellent, always brings a lot to the table. And with the changes that are happening with the SDA, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the Defense Department as we move forward. And I'm sure Bucky Marshall will have some words to say.
Yes, don't ever forget about the third day of an event that Silvano Payne is putting on. There's always bound to be some surprises. So many forces and circumstances appear to have combined to create a thriving satellite sector, almost incomprehensible, I think, even to those in the industry, with SpaceX having launches almost weekly. Which of those influences stand out most to you that are affecting the sector?
Well, it's obviously the launch sector. The launch sector has reduced cost of getting into space to such an incredible degree, and the competition is really growing. I look forward to see what New Glenn is going to come up with. It's going to be very interesting, and I think there are many other players that are going to come into the fore. So the price of launch is going to continue to drop. The cost of manufacturing is dropping. The cost of components is dropping. The capacity of components is increasing. It's a very exciting industry to be in.
Would the sector be seeing as much robust interest and growth without government defense activity?
I'm not sure that it would. I mean, certainly there will be growth in the industry without the military, but there are so many applications that small satellites particularly provide for the defense departments that they're very large players, probably in the region of about 30%, certainly in the United States. And so that's a hell of a lot of play that they bring to the party. So I don't think it would be as robust, but it would certainly be a good industry to be in.
Have you seen any improvement in how the military interacts with private industry? You probably have seen the same sort of opinion pieces, sort of complaining about, and from people who came out of that space about the extended time periods that obviously make things difficult for startups. Have you seen any improvement or change?
I have, yes. There's no question that the military are doing whatever they can to talk to industry. Our show in October, MilSat, is a very good example of it, where we get four-star generals coming along and talking to our audience. They are out there, they're looking for novel, new ways to do things. The SDA, Space Development Agency, has been forefront in those efforts, and it's really, really good to see the military taking such an interest.
How important and what is the nature of what I'll call run-of-the-mill enterprise applications? How satellite is influencing just everyday business?
Well, if you think about the growth of the cloud, for instance, with people like Amazon and Microsoft and all the others, the amount of data that is floating around right now, where satellite plays a wonderful role in backup and a wonderful role in adding to the capacity that's available there. Enterprise plays a very big role and will continue to play a big role, I think, in the development of our industry.
I think it's fair to say satellite is rapidly becoming part of the IoT conversation.
Absolutely, totally. Yeah.
How is integration with cellular changing the perception of satellite connectivity? This seems to have come out of nowhere, and we hear about non-terrestrial network connectivity, direct-to-device, supplemental coverage from space, whatever you want to call it, it's suddenly everywhere and touching consumers in their mobile phones.
I think about what got me into the satellite industry. I used to drive around and see these big mesh antennas on people's farms. And then in people's backyards, you'd see these big mesh antennas. And what was going on? Well, for the first time, the consumer could pick programming directly from satellite. So the consumer got tremendously involved. And then along came the small little dishes that people could then put on their roof. And we all know the story about that. That became a huge growth area for satellite communications. I think the same thing is happening now with the cell industry, where the consumer is suddenly realizing that there is this method of communicating that will be really useful in emergencies or in strange areas, or should the cell network get knocked out. I'm sure there were a ton of cell networks locked out in LA recently. So cellular is going to become more and more important, I think, in our industry.
Yeah, with regard to the content from space, which you were describing in your initial interaction and awareness, I think we're waiting for a second generation approach to satellite delivery of content.
Yeah, and it's happening. It's happening right now.
So, okay, everything's glowing and wonderful, which is why your events are so terrific to attend. But are there any warning signs on the horizon amid the top line enthusiasm?
Warning signs. Let's think. Warning signs. I think there are a lot of warning signs. When you see mergers and acquisitions and you see the activity that is happening in that arena, you'll see a lot of the big boys are coming up and gobbling. And what's happening to the small entrepreneur is that they're taking quite a risk in getting involved in this industry, because they have to establish themselves. And typically it's going to be very difficult to oust the larger companies. They're going to have to look for perhaps a merger or acquisition type of activity. So the warning signs would be that we don't want too much of the very large companies controlling this industry. It's happened quite a bit. It continues to happen. And I think those are the areas that we need to be concerned of. There is a lot of money coming into the industry again, thank goodness. So that is a really good sign.
Yes, there is quite a bit of gobbling up going on.
Yes.
So what are the latest developments from Satnews, the content creation side of your business?
It's been an interesting voyage. Our events are only 10 years old, actually, that we've been doing events in Silicon Valley. and they have really grown, and we've diversified them quite a bit. We have some plans to do some in Europe, and those are well on the way. All I can say is that things are moving along nicely, and I think it would be really good for your viewers to come along to SmallSat in 10 days. Come along and see what's happening in the industry. It's exciting. It's an interesting voyage, and I think that there is plenty of dollars to be picked up over the short and long term in this industry.
And where can people learn more about Satnews?
Well, smallsatshow.com, would be a good place. Satnews.com would be a good place. Type in SmallSat event, and we will come up immediately for sure. If you go to any of your search engines, you'll find us.
Very good. Well, thank you for your time, Silvano. Let me just bring us out here. I want to thank the Mobile Satellite Users Association for hosting these sessions. You can learn more about the MSUA at msua.org. You can learn how to get our weekly newsletter that gives you updates on everything that's happening in the industry and shares information about upcoming events. And you can also find out how to become a member. And nominations for the 2025 Mobile Satellite Innovation Awards are open until February 11th. Oh, I'm sorry, that actually should be February 10th. Forgive me. We look forward to seeing you next time on MSUA's Game Changers webcast.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Silvano.